Yes, what's up? Welcome into Foxboro Rush. George Balekji, Travis Thomas, who you see is fired up.
Yeah.
Boys are back in town. It's been a minute since I've done a show with you, Trav.
It's been too long. I missed you, brother.
You know what? Missed you too. I know you ventured down south, back home to Merlin.
Yep.
I went up north to Stowe, Vermont, eh?
Oh, you did go?
Yeah, Stowe was great.
Been.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh, you're the third person that's told me that.
You have your drives in New England, right?
Yeah.
Here's my thing. I've never been to the Cape. Maybe I'll go one day. But the whole one way in, one way out, I had PTSD from growing up driving to Long Island from Jersey, right?
Fair.
A lot of traffic. Stowe, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
No matter what. Multiple ways to get up, multiple ways to get down. And you're driving in the mountains. It starts getting mountainous. You see all the green, the scenery. I'm going to go back every season. So I am a one-man support of Stowe, Vermont.
Well,
so I'm saying go.
You're also a lake lover. So I feel like, did you get any lake action?
No lakes, but I went on like a quick 20-minute hike to an awesome waterfall.
Okay. Oh.
And I was ready to swim, like jump in and all that. But they had like historic rainfall causing flooding. I stared at this thing and I said, if I was 17, I'm jumping in there. I'm 30 now. I know what death looks like, and I'm not that strong of a swimmer. That current is taking me away, and it would not end well. No. And it was the night before a wedding. My girlfriend was a maid of honor.
Okay.
Last thing I needed her to worry about on top of her speech is me dying.
Yeah, no doubt. You made the right choice. You know what you did? You made a business decision. You know what I mean? It's like Derrick Henry was running at you full speed, and you thought, I could break down, get low, make the tackle maybe, or I could just ole and move out of the way and let him run by me. That's what you did. You made a business decision.
I saw the nearest sideline. I said, I'm going out this way.
And you know what? I respect you for that.
Appreciate it, my man. So, yeah, go to Stowe, ASAP, Rocky. You'd love it. All right, we got a packed Foxboro Rush for you guys today. Bill Belichick still reportedly wants to coach. We talk about that, if that's even going to happen. Does he have any suitors? Yeah. And what is he doing? On top of that, ESPN put out their list, top 10 wide receivers. Love the timing of this with Brandon Ayuk and his holdout demanding a trade.
Yep.
So you see what goes there. We'll rank our top 5 wide receivers as well. We got all that and more right here on Foxboro Rush. So I want to start it off with Bill Belichick reports, Trav, right?
Okay.
So NFL Network's Tom Pelissero was appearing on the Rich Eisen show.
Yep.
And he said this about Belichick. Belichick intends to coach in 2025. So that means he'll take this upcoming season off. Obviously, he didn't get a job. He's staying engaged in the game. He's showing up to roasts because that qualifies you to be, I'm interested in coaching. He's now going to be on Inside the NFL. We've seen him showing up to different events. Okay, cool. He's fully invested and he wants to coach again. He wants to pursue the all-time wins record. Those are things that really matter a lot to Bill Belichick. Belichick, of course, the football historian he is. If you go for head coaching wins alone in the regular season, he's 28 wins shy of Don Shula's record of 328. If you do playoffs and regular season, he's 14 away. No matter what, it's going to take multiple seasons. I'm just reading this, and like the roast thing, you could tell my tone from that. I don't think Bill Belichick's ever going to coach again, Trav.
Really?
I don't think he's ever going to coach again.
Because listen, bro, I could not disagree with you more. Actually, and I actually have a long list of teams where I think he could end up. So please enlighten all of us of why you believe that. It's just because he's an old man. The game has passed him by. He's a curmudgeon. Why don't you see it happening?
Right, you check just every box.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense.
I have a list too, and I'm seeing every single team's outlook. Maybe one, maybe two would take them, maybe 3. Okay. And you know what? A team would grab them, and to me, it'd be a business decision if we had Bill Belichick, the winningest coach of all time. And they just need to sell tickets because they're in a rebuild. But Bill Belichick at his age, at 73 years old, what team that is trying to compete and improve the roster and either has an established franchise quarterback or is drafting a young quarterback and wants him to become their guy and a franchise quarterback and capitalize on him as a rookie scale contract would want Bill Belichick? Look, still as a coach, that defense was one of the best in the NFL. When it came to the nuances of the game, was one of the best in the NFL. But if he is an all or nothing where I'm making personnel decisions, I'm running the front office, I'm the GM, I'm the head coach, no team's going to sign up for that. We've gone at it ad nauseum. He ran this franchise and this roster into the ground since Tom Brady left. It was how he handled Tom Brady's eventual departure and not having a successor in tow. It's how he handled that offseason, waiting till the last minute, signing Cam Newton to be the quarterback. Following draft, they get Mac Jones, who looked promising in year one. Josh McDaniels leaves.
Yep.
Yes, he has the experiment, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. They both get fired because they sucked. Bring in Bill O'Brien. You don't give him full reign. And then the reports come out of the insecurity he had of who he trusted and why he was keeping his staff smaller, and he was just retreading the old assistants. He didn't want to teach new things. He wanted guys he can trust that would follow his marching orders. You have to adapt. At his age, at 73 years old now, yes, the game has passed him by. Roster construction has passed him by. The way he drafts, taking a kicker in the 4th round has passed him by. Taking a punter over an offensive lineman they could have used has passed him by. He can still draft on defense. Kyle Duggar, Keon White, Marte Mapu, Christian Gonzalez, Christian Barmore. He can still draft on defense. But overall, as a game, when it's offensive, and you are a defensive-minded head coach like him and how old you are, I don't see him coaching ever again. The fact that he's on Inside the NFL right now, what? A guy that hated the media more than anything. Him and Ernie Adams had the inside joke. You know what we'd call them? The journalists, we'd call them scribes. Bet you never heard that before. Dude, Ernie Adams, everyone calls us scribes. Everyone calls them scribes. Like, there's nothing new there. But the way he hated the media, the way he hated giving anything in the media, anyone talking to the media when it was his players, to me, that's just weird, but he's doing it inside the NFL for the check. But still, is he going to go out there and be critical of other players and teams? We'll see. But I just think overall, everything he did and how it ended in New England, he, to me, did not show any promises that I can trust him to run a franchise. Because as a head coach, that's what you do. Your GM's going to make a draft pick. If you're in a good relationship, they go to you, who do you want? What do you want?
Yeah.
It's not going to work that way with him. It is a collaborative effort. What I say to you when we're looking for the next owner of the Celtics, I like someone that surrounds themselves with a diversity of opinions.
Right.
He wants echo chambers. He wants yes men. He wants people that'll follow him and not question anything. And that is why you can't run a franchise like that anymore. I don't think it would work with Bill Belichick.
Okay. What I'm hearing from you, though, is the case against him to have power within your organization. I'm hearing a lot of GM complaints. I believe this is just my belief. I think Bill Belichick has been humbled from this last hiring cycle, we'll call it, where we saw him interview a couple places and he didn't get the gig. And I believe he didn't get the gig because of everything you're saying in terms of we would love for you to come in here and coach. But as far as power goes, you can cancel that order. It's not going to happen. And obviously he wanted the power. And you know, to a certain extent he has a right to want that. He's earned that right to want that. But clearly in this last hiring cycle, no franchise who brought him in and talked to him were willing to give him that. I do not believe that the next go-round he's going to have that opportunity either for everything that you said. What I do believe is he can still coach and that teams will be interested in him just the coach. Do you feel comfortable with Bill Belichick the coach? If you take because I listened to every complaint you had, they were all GM-based. I mean, if he just comes in to coach your team, are you comfortable with that, George?
No, because that comes into his ego where he can say, yeah, GM's cool with me. It's not going to jive with him, I believe. And it's also, how do you build your coaching staff? Because if he becomes a head coach, let's say Robert Saleh gets fired.
Okay.
And sure, Aaron Rodgers, or let's go with give me a younger quarterback situation. Matt Eberflus with the Bears. If Matt Eberflus gets fired and Ryan Poles stays, we'd see.
Right.
But he goes, fine, I'm going to hire Bill Belichick. Who's his offensive coordinator going to be?
Sure.
Josh McDaniels?
Yeah, because he has to pick that. And yeah,
okay, who's Josh McDaniels' wide receiver coach going to be? Troy Brown, who is terrible here in New England?
I got you.
Who are his assistants going to be if it's not Josh McDaniels? Matt Patricia and Joe Judge?
So you would, if you brought in Belichick, in a sense, you would be like, look, you can be the head coach, but I don't want any retreads in your staff. You almost would dictate to him, like, I can't have you bringing back all these morons that you used to coach with.
And let's say, so I'm the GM, right? I'm Ryan Poles. I'm Joe Shane with the Giants. I am blanking on the GM for the Jets. Joe Douglas with the Jets, right? But if I bring my head coach in and I go, hey, you're going to be the head coach, but I'm picking your staff, I'm not doing my job.
Right.
My job is personnel. My job is scouting. My job is cap space.
Sure.
You have to delegate at every position. You bring in a head coach, you're full go. Whoever you want on your staff, go ahead, bring them in. I'm all in, right?
Sure.
So if I'm saying, hey, I'm bringing you in, but I'm picking your staff, then that's not a coach I want. Okay. I can't trust that coach. So that's why I think the person that he's become, the insecure leader that he's become, I can't trust him with my job on the line, with an entire franchise on the line, with an entire city, a state, a region relying on him. I can't trust him. Okay. And if I can't trust him, I don't want him to be my head coach.
Okay, that's fair. That's why I asked the question. I was just trying to take your temperature more on where you were looking at this. And I found where we disagree. Go ahead.
He's the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah.
He is the greatest coach of all time, but eventually the game passed him by.
Okay.
Not taking away from what he's done in the past, not taking away for the fact that he had a 20-year reign on the NFL with 2 different dynasties.
Yeah.
And those earlier teams with all those Hall of Famers, with all that all-time talent. Before Tom Brady was Tom Brady, defenses carried it, running game carried it.
He deserves more credit for those.
He was always 5 steps ahead of anything.
Yeah, he does.
But then as of late.
He deserves a lot of credit. I'm glad you brought that up. I think a lot of people, with the way it ended in New England, boy, I was doing radio on WEEI on weekends, George, at the time he got fired. Or actually right before he got fired. And the calls I was getting of that were just so disrespectful to this guy. And I was like, look, I'm an outsider who's here now. And I understand the frustration when you watch this team play. But it's like, let's not forget that this is the greatest coach of all time. And I actually did what you just did. I went back to those early Super Bowls where I felt like Belichick deserved a ton of the credit for that defense and being prepared and being the best coach on Super Sunday and even during the run to the Super Bowl. So I agree with you there. Now, as you were breaking this down, I was trying to find where we differed a little bit.
Okay.
And I didn't really ever get there because everything you said with him as a GM is just proven. At this point, the sample size is so big, George. Some of the stuff you brought up is true in terms of taking a kicker or a punter over a position of need, like an offensive lineman or whatever. And you even brought up the defensive players that he did draft that worked. But you left off the most glaring omission, which is the wide receiver. I mean, this guy is whiffed. He has a career. I mean, let's call it what it is, of whiffing on wide receiver. So all the GM stuff, I'm with you. Then I asked you specifically if you bring him in to coach, are you comfortable with that? You said no because of the staff around him. You thought he would bring back some of these morons like Patricia and Judge, and he'll stick with a Josh McDaniels, which I actually don't have a problem with if he's my offensive coordinator. I have a problem if he's my head coach, but that's another topic for another day. And I even agree with all that, George. So I don't really have anywhere to push back on your case, except that this is the NFL, and I believe the gigs that Bill Belichick will have an opportunity to get is going to be based off 2 things. Number one, above all, is his name, Bill Belichick,
yes,
the GOAT.
Can't deny that.
Number 2, I do not believe he's going to go to a rebuild. Like, for example, this is why I say I think he was humbled the last hiring cycle. When he was interviewing with the Falcons and we heard the Panthers and stuff, I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't make any sense to me for him to go to a rebuilding situation at this advanced age, at this stage of his career. Bill Belichick, I think, is going to have the opportunity to coach teams that are right there, that are close, and they just can't get over the hump. I believe an owner and a brain trust of an organization, of a franchise, will say, look, we have the personnel. We need the right guy leading us. We're a Bill Belichick away from breaking through and either going on a deep AFC or NFC title game or a Super Bowl run. I jotted these teams down just while we were talking. Eagles, Giants, some of these he has history with. Cowboys. These are teams that are right there. Not so much the Giants, but Eagles and the Cowboys are right there. I could absolutely see Nick Sirianni or Fat Mouth McCarthy blowing it. And then you bring in a Bill Belichick and you just say, look, some of this, he is Bill Belichick. You're going to let him build his staff the way he wants to do it. So maybe he does bring a Patricia or a Judge. But that's just the reality of doing business with a Bill Belichick. So Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, Bills. I think McDermott may not be long for this world. You got to think about, as long as he's been there, they have not built a run game. The defense lost a lot of pieces this offseason, so I'm not sure it's going to be as good as it's been over the years. And then obviously Stephon Diggs is gone, so you lose a valuable weapon there. Browns. Look, I love Kevin Stefanski. For whatever reason, every time you see these articles about hot seats, Kevin Stefanski's name's on it. I don't understand it for the life of me. It just tells me maybe Cleveland wants to run him out and blame him.
Yes.
Jags, they committed to Trevor Lawrence. Is Doug Peterson, are we really going to stick with that?
Just imagine if you're Mac Jones. And you're like, I'm back home. I'm in Florida.
It's the NFL, though. It's business.
It's warm. I'm happy. And then Bill Belichick walks back through that door.
Yeah, but you know what? That's Mac Jones's fault. I'll tell you why. And you know this from our industry. Any industry, quite frankly. But even in ours, you can't burn bridges because you just never know. Yep. You never know. And I mean, even where right now at Nesson, our current boss, I worked with him at a previous place. I'm so glad I'm not a bridge burner. Yeah. Because when he got here, I felt comfortable. I was like, all right, cool. I've worked with him. I know what he wants. If I had burned a bridge, I'd be the most nervous. I couldn't even do this show right now. I'd be a mess, George. So
you're too nice of a guy too. You don't. Well,
I'm just
bridges.
saying it's a Mac Jones problem. That's not a Bill Belichick problem. Bill Belichick's gonna walk in the room like whatever. I know this kid sucks. But here's one I'm gonna throw you. 49ers.
No.
George, hear me out. At some point, when you've been knocking on the door as much as they have, and you keep coming up short, this is a team that has lost NFC title games. They've lost Super Bowls. I mean, to say they're there is an understatement. They've been on the precipice of a championship forever, it feels like. You have another season now. Let's say the Niners don't win the division, or let's say they're a one seed in the NFC again, and they just don't get it done. They lose in the playoffs, or they lose in the Super Bowl. I think at some point, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are going to be held accountable. What I don't know is, are we already at that point where maybe ownership is looking at them like, no one knows it, but this is critical for them. If we lose again, I'm ready to move off. If you were to move off of a Kyle Shanahan, you can't just go hire the next young hotshot. You have to bring in someone with a certain brevity. You have to bring in someone with a certain status. And a Bill Belichick would fit that. So I think he will get another opportunity, George. And I actually think he's going to get a beautiful opportunity. I think him and Mike Vrabel are both in a unique position to really handpick the job that they want.
And that name right there, because if you're going to go defensive-minded, but if you're going to go someone that's on their P's and Q's, detail-oriented, lifts up the franchise, but more modern, you go Mike Vrabel. But it's a matter of, can your front office, do they get along with him?
They'll be the big cheeses, I think.
I like that you brought up the names, because let's think about it. The Jets and Robert Saleh, that seat is scorching hot. But he wouldn't go to the Jets because the Jets hate him and Belichick hates the Jets.
Well, they also don't have a quarterback, George.
But they wouldn't even – the way he signed on to be their head coach and then left to become the Patriots head coach.
But
look,
I'm just saying,
so let's go there.
If you fire Saleh, Aaron Rodgers is gone too. So that's like a rebuild. I don't see him with a rebuild job, is my point.
Aaron Rodgers would pick RFK Jr. to be his head coach. Bears and Matt Eberflus. The Bears are not going to hire Bill Belichick because they have the tapped.
That was smooth, dog.
Great, I got you.
That was smooth.
A great rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams, and who should be a young, promising young quarterback. If they fire Matt Eberflus, who's defensive-minded, they would want to go out and get an offensive-minded head coach and keep that system in place.
That's right.
Bears are a young core. With the way they've traded, the way they've built that franchise, they're in the perfect spot. They're so close to being legit, they don't go Bill Belichick.
No.
The Cowboys?
I think so.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think
Him and Jerry Jones, the history, Belichick would want to be there. It's Dallas. It's the big D. It's the star.
And they're close, right?
You know, Jerry would get on the phone. Hey, Bill, how you doing, son? Now, I know you're close to winning that record. Now, listen, you come to Dallas, we'll sell tickets. We got Dak. We got Micah. Micah reminds you of Lawrence Taylor, don't he? Hey, you can't draft receivers, but we got CD Lamb, boy. So, Billy, good old Bill, come on.
Billy.
Come to Dallas.
It's I'll pay Jerry. You. It's a good Jerry.
I'll kind of pay you a lot, but I'll pay you, boy.
That's a damn good Jerry.
So Cowboys you can see happening. Dennis Allen and the Saints, he can get fired. New Orleans,
rebuild.
It's a rebuild where New Orleans is like, hey, it's a rebuild no matter what. Our cap sucks. Let's bring them in. We sell tickets.
I don't think so.
Dable and the Giants.
Yeah.
There's a history there.
Right.
He won 2 Lombardis as a defensive coordinator.
Right.
Rebuilds.
Yeah, it's a rebuild, but
that's tough, though.
It's a Giants.
McDermott, the Bills, I don't see happening. Sirianni, the Eagles, I don't see happening.
Why? Stay there. Stay
McDermott
with both
and the
of
Bills?
Those. Both.
I don't think Belichick would want to go coach in Buffalo.
Why?
I think there would be the shove it up Robert Kraft,
right?
Jonathan Kraft and Robin Glazer.
Yes. And
I don't think Buffalo looking.
Allen.
I don't think ownership looking. We have Josh Allen. We need to get this head coach right because also Bill Belichick is 73. What is this? A 3-year plan? No, you have Josh Allen.
So they'll go
for the next 8 to 10 years.
They'll go offensive,
or they go Mike Vrabel. It's not offensive to me. It's just go younger.
All right. What about the Eagles?
The Eagles, no. Jeff Lurie, Boston Connect. Same thing. He could get it right, fix that defense, get everything in line. I wouldn't rule out the Eagles. So in reality, when I look at this list, Cowboys, because it's Jerry Jones, a lot's in place. Saints, purely business. Eagles, because everything's in place.
Let me throw you a couple more.
I don't see it.
Let me throw you a couple more. Browns. History there. Team ready to win. They don't like their coach, even though the guy can coach.
I have to look at what the Browns offer because Belichick will have to take any job he wants. The Haslams are stupid. They did give Deshaun all that money. I don't think they would do it. I think Vrabel, who's already in that building as a senior consultant to the coach, I can see that happening. I don't think Stefanski's going anywhere.
Jags.
Shad Khan, business guy. Jacksonville. Again, I think with the contract you have for Trevor Lawrence, and if you're seriously looking at a 4 or 5 year plan, and what he did to Mac Jones, seriously, with the coaching staff and what he did. Remember, Bill O'Brien came in and was only allowed to hire an assistant tight ends coach.
Right.
That was the only say he had. I don't think the Jaguars do it.
And then you definitely poo-pooed my hot take. Niners.
Yeah, no way.
No
I don't think
shot.
Shanahan, his seat's not close to hot either. Right. Dude, if Dre Greenlaw doesn't tear his Achilles, who knows how that Super Bowl ends.
Does he pass Shula? And if you believe he does, what team will he be with when he does?
Cowboys.
I believe he does. You're going Cowboys.
If I had to pick a team that he would pass Shula, I'd go Cowboys.
Okay. That's so NFL, too.
It is hard with him with a year off,
Yeah.
how it ended, him so separated from the game.
Yeah.
Dude, the dude is like hanging out. Where is he? Nantucket's where his house with his 24-year-old girlfriend. You think he's going to want to move to Dallas now and get in the coaching grind? I just think you're going to get a half-assed Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
At that age, with his accomplishments, making the money, I think you get a half-assed Bill Belichick. Seriously. I don't think any team would hire him.
Okay.
I really don't.
Listen, the Nantucket thing, the young girlfriend, he may want to stay close to the Northeast.
Where'd he grow up? Annapolis.
Yeah, but that job's taken. I think Quinn will do a good job. I think the Eagles makes a lot of sense. And Nick Sirianni's just so immature and such a frat boy as a coach. I don't think it's going to work.
Shane Steichen left.
It's been downhill since.
His defensive coordinator left to be the head coach of the Cardinals.
It's been downhill, bro.
And everything fell apart there.
You know what's happened since those guys left.
Yeah.
He's been exposed.
Yeah. What makes a great head coach? Hiring great assistants, delegating.
You bring in a Belichick, the maturity check, the experience check. He can get the defense right. It's in the Northeast. I think he's going to Philly. I think he passes Shula as an Eagles head coach.
You know, if he goes to Philly, one thing he won't have to worry about?
What?
Wide receivers.
Yeah, facts.
All right, let's get into it. So ESPN put out their top 10 wide receivers in the league list. ESPN surveyed league executives, coaches, and scouts to form this list. We'll go 10 through 1.
All right.
And Trav, I'll give you, I'll give you that moment in between every name to go, wait, what? All right?
All right.
So feel free to interrupt, as I know you always love to do.
I do.
Number 10, Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers. Number 9, Stephon Diggs and the Houston Texans.
Okay.
Number 8, Mike Evans and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right.
7, Amon-Ra St.Brown.
Yeah.
6, A.J. Brown.
Seems a little low.
5, Devontae Adams.
Okay.
4, C.D. Lamb.
Okay.
3, your boy Jamar Chase.
Love him.
Jamar Chase. 2, Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins.
Yeah, no problem.
And number 1, who is it?
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any issues here until the bottom of the list. I'd probably rearrange a couple things.
6 through 10 you don't like. So
Yeah,
6
I don't
through
know
10.
About don't like, but
Descending order, 6 is A.J. Brown, then Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, Brandon Ayuk.
yeah, I'm definitely. Listen, I would move A.J. Brown way up. St. Brown, I'm okay with. Mike Evans, Diggs, Ayuk. I think it's just A.J. Brown. That's a glaring one to me. He's got to move up on this list. When that guy is right, I mean, you could argue. I don't think he's the best, but you certainly could put him in the conversation to be the best because of the routes, the hands, the temperament. He is an absolute dog. He's a physical freak, the size. He has everything. He can block. I would probably top 5. I think I'm at the point I'm willing to move Devontae Adams out of my top 5.
What?
And some of it, isn't necessarily his fault. I don't watch him as much because in Green Bay they're on primetime all the time.
Then he went to Vegas and
he
he was
went
somehow
to Vegas.
less glamorous.
You never see him. He doesn't have a quarterback. So I don't know if it's, his own. I'm watching the Receiver show on Netflix. He's kind of a pain in the butt. I would probably move Devontae Adams out of my top 5. In fact, I can give you my 5 if you want them. You ready?
Yeah.
Let me go 5 to 1 or 1 to 5.
You go. All right, so let's go top 5. Let's go 5 to 1.
All right.
You give me your 5, I give you my 5.
Got it. I'm going C.D. Lamb at 5. I just think he's so explosive, and he really
great route runner.
I think he can probably work on the blocking aspect, but he's a little slightly built. Maybe that's some of it. I don't know. But routes, he could do every route in the route tree. Hands are fantastic. Speed, yak. I mean, the guy has everything. Flair for the dramatic, clutch. He really is a complete receiver except for the blocking. I'd like to see him develop that a little bit better, but I'll go C.D. Lamb at 5.
Yeah. Blocking for a receiver like elite number 1, I don't care. But I get you're making the point of moments for him to improve.
Why he's on this list where he is and not higher.
5 for me is still Devontae Adams. And yes, do I have that Devontae Adams and the Packers stuck in my head? Yeah, I do. But I still know that he has that in him where he can be a wide receiver 1 on teams.
Yeah.
And with Devontae Adams, you get the full route tree, a guy that is faster than he's given credit for, the best release off the line of scrimmage in the NFL, the best route runner in the NFL, in my opinion, strong hands. And this is a guy that developed from when he was at Fresno to took some growing years in the league
right.
to develop, to me, in my opinion, was a top 3 receiver his last couple years in Green Bay at the height of his powers. But I still have him top 5. And it's still given with the awful quarterback hand he was given, whether it's his boy Derek Carr. And by the way, if there's one thing, if we want to go top 5 dumbest decisions in the NFL over the last decade, it's Devontae Adams saying, I understand Packers won't pay him, but Devontae Adams saying, I'm going to go to Las Vegas and play with Derek effing Carr. Like, I don't care about
that was
friendships.
His boy.
I know. And then what happens the next year? You get Jimmy Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell. Like,
right.
That's what happens, man.
Now you have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Yeah. Yikes.
So Devontae Adams, but is my number 5. It's his route running, his separation, and he's such a lethal red zone target because of how easily he can get separation, but also how good his hands are that in the tightest windows, he's a scoring threat. Who you got for?
Fair enough. I'm going A.J. Brown here. As I said, I think he was, 6 on the list. I just don't see a world in which he's not top 5.
Yeah, he's 6.
And you could argue top 3 even. But, again, for everything I said, the physicality, the hands, he can block. He just has everything. The only thing I don't love about him is something that really all these receivers possess. And it's just when they're not getting the ball, they don't know how to act. And A.J. Brown loses his mind when he's not getting the ball. But what are you going to do? I mean, some of this stuff with these guys is a gift and a curse, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a curse when they're literally cursing you out on the sideline. But it's a gift when, no, actually, they're right. They should get the ball because they're amazing, right? So A.J. Brown's 4 for me.
I like that. I like that take on A.J. Brown. This is when it got tough.
Okay.
And I will say right now, this is low. But it's how good the top 3 are.
Okay.
Jamar Chase is my number 4. He's so good. He is such an elite talent.
Yeah.
Such strong hands. And what he does after the catch, to me, is the best part. Where you put the ball in his hands. He's just a football player. He just runs through dudes.
Yeah.
Love watching him play football. But my 3-2-1 are so good. That's why I have Jamar Chase at 4. But when he's healthy, he's on the field. When Joe Burrow is healthy and he's on the field, that's arguably the best quarterback wide receiver combo in the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt. I have him at 3 on my list.
Ooh.
I have him over A.J. Brown. I would much rather a Jamar Chase on my team because one thing about Jamar Chase that I actually like a little more than A.J. Brown is just that explosive factor. And it's not to say that A.J. Brown can't run away from people. We see that. But usually with him, it's breaking – with A.J. Brown I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's breaking tackles or going up in a crowd with his vert and coming down with it, where Jamar Chase can do both. Jamar Chase I've seen break tackles and go. Jamar Chase I've seen that vert, him go up, snatch it down. I've also seen him just catch a quick bubble screen and boogie on you.
Yeah.
Like he is just so explosive with the ball in his hand that I have to go Jamar Chase at 3.
And I give him credit. I mean, 2023, another season without Joe Burrow because of injuries.
Right.
Career high in receptions, career high in yards,
Yeah.
second highest career yardage, career low in touchdowns, but that's expected when the offense overall is struggling.
Yep.
But he carried the offense, and he can be a number one. Any team, except for 3 in the NFL, in my opinion.
Right.
If he's on the roster, he's the best receiver on the team, on the field, no doubt about it. So your 3 is Jamar Chase. My 3 is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
One-man show, can carry an offense himself, lifts up Tua Tagovailoa so much. And let's just talk about, for Tyreek Hill in his career, like what 2 better landing spots can you be in? Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and then for whatever reason you say, you're not going to pay me, I'm leaving, even though you could got more and more rings and be a surefire Hall of Famer. But then you go to Miami, where it's Mike McDaniel. I don't care about the quarterback situation. It's Mike frickin' McDaniel, who's one of the best play callers and schemers in the NFL.
Yeah,
He's all about speed. That's what Tyreek Hill brings. And at his smaller stature, his athleticism is still there. This is a guy, if injuries didn't derail him, could have broken 2,000 yards on the season.
He would have.
And could have legitimately won MVP too.
Yeah.
But then that's also a reflection on the Dolphins not being able to beat actual good teams. But this offense isn't the same without him. I think he's a top 3 receiver in the league. If you told me top 2, I wouldn't hate it either, but I have him at 3 because I love my number 2 and 1.
Well, I'm telling you top 2, so you won't hate it. I'm going Tyreek Hill. I
hate
completely agree with you for everything you said. I just have him higher on my list. Absolute game breaker. And the only thing missing from him is size. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, if this guy was Justin Jefferson's size, it would be over. We would be talking like GOAT status. I have never seen a player faster. And this is coming from a guy who grew up covering and watching Darryl Green my whole life.
Yeah.
So Tyreek Hill, I have never seen a faster football player in my life than the Cheetah himself. So he's 2 on my list.
Number 2 for me is A.J. Brown, man. You see the big difference here.
Yep.
What do you have him 4?
I had him at 4, yes.
Yeah. I love A.J. Brown's game. Complete game to me. Can be that big, deep threat. Same thing. Can get a screen pass and boogie and just go upfield. His speed, his size, his athleticism. Such a threat on both sides of the field. And even in a great offensive situation where he's Devontae Smith opposite of him and has Jalen Hurts playing with him, I think A.J. Brown, wherever he's been, when he's at his best, to me, he's top 3, no doubt. In my eyes, number 2 receiver. It's his size. It's his speed. It's his full route tree ability as well.
Yes.
And this is a guy that gets separation. Even if he doesn't, he can come down with contested catches. He can sky up and get it. And at every blade of grass, any point in the field, long field, red zone, wherever it may be, you're going for the pylon, he can be it. So on the count of 3, we're going to say our number 1.
Well, hold on. I want to say something about A.J. Brown that I just thought about. So his ceiling, I wrote this down. I'm writing as we speak. His ceiling to me, like when he's at his most unstoppable.
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me a little bit of Megatron. Not quite as big, not quite as explosive.
Yeah.
But close, right? Physical freak, strong. His floor is DK Metcalf.
Which isn't a terrible floor.
Which is a physical freak, just more athletic than you, but not quite as refined. DK Metcalf is not as refined as AJ.
And
Brown.
DK Metcalf is that perfect build comp for him.
Right.
6'1", 6'2", 225.
That's what I'm saying.
He's not as big, but, I mean, he looks like a cyborg.
Yeah.
And even just look at him the last 2 years. 2 years ago, Eagles, great offense, made it to the Super Bowl.
Right.
1,500 yards, double-digit touchdowns, and 88 catches. This last year with the offense struggling, 106 receptions, 1,500 yards. averaging over 13 yards a catch. Chain mover, game breaker, playmaker. That's A.J. Brown.
Man. Let me ask you one more thing before we move on. On the ESPN list, Brandon Ayuk at 10.
Yeah.
So now
Funny timing, huh?
Now we know the trade rumors. I don't want to be here. You guys don't want to pay me, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Do you believe that Brandon Ayuk is indeed a top 10 wide receiver in this league no matter where he plays? Or do you think this is somewhat of a system thing?
I think it's system, but I do believe in his ability. This was a guy that came into San Francisco, was in the doghouse, wasn't blocking, wasn't doing the little things right, and he was being inactive for games.
Okay.
But he's a true deep threat receiver, takes the top off of defense as well. And this is a guy that's lining himself up to get paid. Now, the question for me is, what does Brandon Ayuk want to get paid? We know what the 49ers have floated around. They're paying him around $26 million a year. But this is a guy, he sees himself top 10 on this list. And he also goes, I'm better than Stephon Diggs, and I'm younger. I'm better than Mike Evans, and I'm younger. Devontae Adams, youth again. You're going to have me for the next 3 to 4 years. So to me, it's all about what numbers do they want to make work, and then what's going to be the price for Brandon Ayuk. But to get to your point, is he top 10? Yes, I do think he's a top 10 talent.
Okay.
I think he's also someone that needs to be aware of where he is. I'm in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I have Kyle Shanahan. I'm on a contender.
Well,
so he's a lot of business decisions to make, and that's what I think he has to do.
Well, he's already made that decision, though. I mean, if he's demanding a trade, look, he's got a year left on his deal. Go win a Super Bowl, bro, and then cash out. What's your problem? So if you're forcing trades now, that just tells me you don't give a rat's you know what about winning. But at the same time, this is a wide receiver we're talking about. We're not talking about a quarterback. I only ask because there's other guys, a Cooper Kupp, a DJ Moore. There's a ton of guys not on this list.
Yeah, not on it.
That you could argue at the 10 spot. So that's why I asked about Ayuk. You want to say our number one because it's unanimous at the same time. You want to do it?
3, 2, 1.
Justin Jefferson. Yeah. I mean, it's not even close, bro. I was in denial. I'll tell you what did it for me, actually. It was a Patriot game. I feel like maybe it was 2 Thanksgivings ago. Does that sound right? Where the Vikings and the Patriots played, I want to say Thanksgiving night. And
that was 2 seasons ago.
Was that
yes.
2? Okay. Justin Jefferson just abused these corners.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that's what he does.
The New England defense was still the New England defense. Like, it was still good and serviceable. And this guy just did whatever he wanted. I mean, he was double, triple teamed. He's going up, catching. And this is every week. But I'm saying when I really watched it, like every down of it, not just red zone, I was like, oh, my God, you can't even stop this dude. When you combine speed, hands, route, the flair,
his size.
The size. This guy's unbelievable. It's to the point now that it was 2 years ago I had to recognize. Now I'm at the point from watching him, even battle through injuries. He comes back. He's still the same dude, and he's not injury prone. I think Justin Jefferson, if he can stay healthy, and if J.J. McCarthy can play, because we don't know.
Or Sam Darnold, real situation.
Well, I think it's going to be J.J. McCarthy for where I'm going here.
Yeah.
Whoever's getting him the ball for the next 4 to 5 years, let's call it. I'm assuming it's J.J. McCarthy. If they are competent, I think Justin Jefferson has an opportunity. No, I don't know if anyone's ever going to pass Jerry Rice in terms of numbers, but I watched Randy Moss in the court of public opinion damn near pass Jerry Rice. I watched Megatron, if he had played longer, in the court of public opinion, damn near pass Jerry Rice. I think Justin Jefferson has an opportunity to get close to both. I think the court of public opinion, he'll be considered the GOAT, and I also think he'll get closer than anyone else to Rice's numbers.
And he just turned 25. He's averaged over 100 yards per game the last 2 seasons. With Kirk Cousins in, him only playing 10 games, him playing 17 games. Dude, he's as complete of a receiver, as dominant of a receiver as I've seen.
Ever.
So I don't hate that call. I don't hate that call.
Ever, bro. In a passing league that the rules are continuing to benefit the quarterback and the receivers, he plays on turf. Like, you don't have to worry about elements. I'm telling you, I think this guy, I think he can be an all-timer if he stays healthy. He already is an all-timer, but I mean like the all-timer. He could be considered the GOAT.
I can't deny that at all. and we have so much left in them. All right, let's switch it up, something fun. So we're talking wide receivers. Let's talk some defense. I love this tweet that Matthew Judon put out. No, it's not about him signing an extension.
Oh, too bad.
But he threw up on X, y'all, after football, if I run for House of Representatives or Senate,
Oh, God.
would you guys vote for me? I mean, maybe if he's in my state, I guess. I don't know. I got to see what he's running on.
He is
Like,
in your state.
well, you know what I mean. You know, maybe he goes back home or something.
Yeah.
I just want to know what he's running on and what his viewpoint is on how late Taco Bells are open and if he's going to bring happy hour back to Massachusetts. If he does, then you got my vote, Judon.
I think that's already been approved.
Great. So let's work on the Taco Bell being open later and getting one in Charlestown to help me. If you had to pick an NFL player, you can say past or present, to run for president or be in government. Yeah, who would make a good president?
Jeez.
You know who number one has to be, and it's the Golden Boy.
Oh, Tommy?
He goes in, he would own any room.
He's presidential.
He has
already.
the glow, right? He has the look.
Yeah.
He's like, I bet he is like what the Kennedys were back in the day,
Yeah.
right?
Good call.
He'd go in and he just has that charisma about him where, you know, he could come up to me and say, look, George, we're going to take every Taco Bell outside of the city. We're moving them to the out, and that's it, man. And I'd be like, damn it, Tom, you're right. How can I say no to this? Even though in my heart it would break.
What about Gronk, bro?
No, stop. Stop.
You definitely get your Taco Bell wish.
Yeah, it's true.
That's happening.
He'd be head of security for Brady. We know that.
So Brady would be the president and Gronk would be the head of the Secret Service.
Yeah. I mean, his big body, man, he'd beat anybody up. How about this one? Jalen Hurts.
Oh, God.
Stoic, composed,
No.
knows how to say nothing but something at the same time.
I think he's fugazi. This past year, when I watched him all upset and moping around on the sidelines, I was like, all that stuff was corny that he was doing before when things were going well. I need someone when the chips are down. They're just as consistent. Here, I just jotted a couple down. We talked about Justin Jefferson. I love his personality. He'd be a lot of fun. I feel like his policies would be fun. Mahomes is a good leader in the same way we're talking about Brady. You could put Mahomes there.
Imagine his State of the Union with Kermit the Frog voice.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love it. I already make fun of State of the Unions in our current situation, so I would love to get Mahomes involved. And then Dan Campbell. I am Mr. Lions on this show. I think Dan Campbell, I get so much like leadership from him. The only thing you would have to do with Dan Campbell is clearly what needs to happen on his coaching staff too. You got to have someone to reel him in. I mean, we can't go for it on every fourth down, Coach. It killed them in the postseason. Kick a field goal, bro. He won't do it. So if he's my president, I gotta have somebody to just Dan. Let's. His VP has to be very straight laced. Does that make sense to balance him out?
Yeah.
And then watching the show receiver, George Kittle, man. I was already a fan of George Kittle, the player, and I knew he had personality. But I didn't know how much personality he had. I think George Kittle would be tremendous at something.
Love the Dan Campbell call. Love the George Kittle call.
Yeah, man.
You keep going quarterbacks. You got to stick with it. Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I mean, the hair alone is why people would vote for him.
He's just smooth. I feel like he wouldn't panic.
Dude, Josh Allen's personality.
I don't know.
Dude, no. Watch videos. He is hilarious. Like the skits the Bills put him in. They put a skit of him like living at a stadium as they're building it.
Yeah.
And you would think it was straight out of Parks and Rec. I am telling you, he can be an actor.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying his command up at a podium.
Who would be the worst? Deshaun Watson?
Oh, God.
Is this thing on? No? I thought he'd be terrible.
I think, he'd be an awful Who
would be
president.
the worst?
You know who'd be a good one?
Who'd be worse than him?
You know who else is retired? Michael Strahan.
For being good?
Yeah, good president.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael Strahan, good president.
All right, yeah, I could see that.
I would not rip on Strahan like that. Already like a household name.
Yeah.
And we've seen him make that transition from football player to daytime show host.
Yeah, I could see
where
that.
people don't even remember him playing football.
Yeah.
But also someone that grew up under the scrutiny of playing in the New York media.
Sure.
So he can handle being the president.
I'll give you another bad one. I think Max Crosby. Yeah, I mean, when you have neck tattoos, you can't. I can't have you running arc. I just can't have.
I think he's smart enough that
he's smart.
He's smart enough that he's like, I don't want that job.
Well, yeah, that's smart.
Who?
Bill Belichick wouldn't be good either. You know why? It'd be a dictatorship.
Yeah.
Right?
He's a good liar too, though, so he'd be good in politics in general. In that.
Touche.
You know,
That's a good place to end it, I think.
yeah, I think we end the conversation there before the wheels start spinning anymore. Hey, thanks for tuning in, listening to the Foxboro Rush. You want to send in your presidential candidates? Tweet at myself. Tweet at Travis Thomas.
Yes.
Email us. Do whatever. Comment on our Instagrams. But wherever you get Foxboro Rush, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, please like, subscribe, rate, review. Watching on YouTube, subscribe as well. We're on Twitch as well.